I have died more than 3-4 times. It's hard to believe I'm here today, but I have. But not the kind of death that you think, not the near-death experience, even though I have had one. This kind of death is more terrifying than anything you can ever imagine. And yet, it's the most liberating that you can even imagine. And so tonight, ego death is going to be fascinating to delve deep into the subject. And what I'm going to share with you tonight, you probably have never heard, or it will probably shatter some of your misconception about what is ego, the myth of ego. We will cover that, because what's interesting is several questions have been coming, in particularly one of a dear follower. She's in Toronto, Canada, and her name is Sophie. She's from Ethiopia. She's really beautiful, and she did ask those questions. Ma, what is kundalini ascension bring about ego death? That was the first question. The second question she asked is, what happened to all those things that are gone? You know, I'm not the same anymore. How many ego death can you have in a lifetime? And so I will tell you, for one who has gone through so much in this lifetime, dying so many times, you'll be surprised of some of the things I will share with you. I mean, it was so tremendous to the point where I almost lost my physical body. I was found blue, asphyxiating to death, and they brought me back to life when I attempted to commit suicide, and I was in my early 30s. It's a miracle I'm here today. And so today, in this Drinking Bliss Divine Satsang, we're going to go deep into demystifying what is ego death, and is there such a thing? And I can tell you, it's not a one-time spiritual event. It's something that can happen many, many times in one lifetime. And what are the signs? How do you know what's happening within you, that you're going through such a process of dissolution? And so we will go in depth about that. And also, if you go through it, because the chances is, if you're here right now sitting in this satsang, is probably because well, first of all, you're supposed to be here. Something ring the bell inside of you and say, I must come to this. I need to hear this. Maybe you're going through something inside that is expressing that kind of dissolution within you, yourself. Or maybe you want to get rid of that ego. You feel like there's something about me I don't love. I don't want to be like that. I want to change that. Or maybe you're going through such a big spiritual awakening right now, and you really want to know more, to understand better, to discover the beauty in your divine presence. Or maybe you have gone through some major thing, but you need some clarification. What is it I've gone through? So this satsang will demystify so many things. And how do you go through it? Because I will tell you, I've gone through it. And I will tell you the different time I've died, and I will share some of my story. Attempting committing suicide was a big one, that I came back to life. I mean, talk about shedding so many identification. And being a cancer survivor, stage advanced 3, 4, not 4, but almost 4. Almost died of an anaphylactic shock reaction to the chemotherapy. And I had 6 months of intense chemotherapy. It's a very long story, but, and then 2 surgery back to back, 3 months of daily radiation. I will tell you, in life, major crisis could really get rid of a lot of identification. So, and also kundalini ascension. Going to spiritual awakening, which is the same. I hope this is not, this is good? Okay. Kundalini awakening, some of you might know, some of you might not know, but we'll have a Q&A session from you here at the home yoga studio in San Anselmo in California. And we will introduce also Martine, the beautiful Martine, before the Q&A question, so she can see everyone online. And but at the end of towards the end, what is the most important part of all of this is we will also have a very empowering guided meditation spiritual process. And this one you can lay down in Shavasana, and it will be a 432 ERCs code. So it has a very deep power to alter your brain wave into alpha wave, even theta wave. It's a powerful process, so we'll get there. So we have quite of an evening. Ego. Let me ask you this question. What is ego? Look at yourself. Where can you find ego? Do you see it? Can you find it somewhere inside of you? Tangible. It does not exist. Such a thing does not exist. And I will demystify why and what it is. First of all, the word ego from Latin means I. A lot of you don't know. This has been around for a long time. It started in the Latin language. It just means the small I, to give you a sense of self. So you can function in the world, to differentiate yourself and to be able to function, because if you were without any sense of real true nature, then you call that enlightenment and self-realize. But for most people, it's not the case. So the word ego, the I, is necessary for survival. It gives a sense of self. But what happened, the nature of human being is they get caught up with a false sense of self. They start, from the moment they're born, they start building up this self-fabricated cage. Look at your life. If you put yourself in a self-fabricated cage, generally speaking, for most people, they start identifying themselves with the things they're not. Self-identification, the anamkara, what we call in the yogic tradition, the ego. But let's talk about the two levels of what is like a sense of false self. But if you look back, how ego, the word ego, became popularized, it started in the 20th century with Sidney Freud. Remember the psychotherapist? He used the term ego, and there was a super ego also in the id, but he used the ego and he made it very popularized, so it became too associated throughout the last, I would say, in the last, decades, especially in the last few decades, that when you think of ego, you think of being conceit or self-importance. Those is how people identified ego, that sense about themselves. But it's much deeper than that. And this is where it comes to the self-fabricated cage. The ego, I call it ego identification, like thinking that you're male or a female, thinking that you are Hindu or Christian or Buddhist or Jew. That's what causes separation, because all the false sense of self only encourage even more that sense of separativeness among us, because it's just an illusion, because ego is just an illusion. when you really look deep inside of you, what it is just a karmic structure. A karmic structure that we come with when we incarnate in the physical form into the subtle body. And we can talk a lot about karma, but what we bring with is prarabdha karma. In the prarabdha karma, we have a lot of whole karmic impression, what we call samskara. And then the samskaras become vasana when they're very strong. So we can say ego is part of that personality that one developed. So it's just basically who you are. And who you are is what you think you are, that personality, what I like, what I dislike, thinking that, you know, if you're heterosexual or a gay person, to identify with those things that constantly reinforce a sense of separation. And this is the view of the yogic tradition, is that needs to be purified, that needs to be demolished. That false sense of selves only get into the way of discovering your true beauty, that you are one with the whole of existence, and that you are like a unique wave of the divine ocean of love that reincarnate. And so ultimately, you could die so many times, but I don't call it death because it's kind of harsh. You could say that you just been purified. I often say when you go through a kundalini ascension, you just been put in the washing machine and you've been washed and you've been like cleaned up. Get rid of all that doesn't serve your own divinity. And so, yes, you can go through many times toward a lifetime when you are in sadhana, when you are spiritually awakening, and then you think, oh my God, I'm not the same anymore. Something about me died, because it's that feeling of dying. But it's just semantic, right? But you can say something has been demolished about you. The personality is not who you are. Personality is just an accumulation of brainwashing, conditioning, accumulation from parent. Are you familiar with dysfunctional family? I'm sure a lot of you. All that garbage that is deep into the subconscious mind, that forms your personality today. Even little puppet string that you're not even aware how people can trigger you. All of that, you could say, you can call it ego. But again, ego, if you look for it deep inside, look inside of you, you're not going to find it. Because the reality is, it's a demolition of that karmic structure. It's just something that you brought from past life, maybe very strong vasana, very strong tendency about yourself, and you still haven't purified them. You're still carrying them on. They're still driving your destiny. And this is what, to look deeply at my life. Who am I? And so when Devi Ma talk about ego, I just talk about a false sense of selves that cause a separation. It's a separation that is not needed because it prevents you to be one with the whole ocean of divine love. Where would you rather be? You know? I have asked you that question before. Where would you rather be? Just that little wave, which is the wave, think, I'm the wave only, but that's the false sense of self that caused that separation, or to really experience, I am this entire infinite divine ocean of love. It's boundless, it's infinite, it's beauty. And what is so beautiful is that you can experience it inside. This is not an intellectual thing. It's to experience your true divine nature, your Satchit Ananda. How many of you are familiar with Satchit Ananda? Raise your hand. Okay. Satchit Ananda comes from the yogic tradition. It means, from Sanskrit, it's the ultimate state of our being, to be in complete bliss and in complete state of, we call it Brahma, meaning that you are one with everything. It's a non-dualistic state of complete merging in divine love. So Sat, from Sanskrit, means infinite, impermanent, unchanging, absolute truth. Chit, omnipotent, omnipresent, and Ananda is bliss. And that's who we are. Not caused by an external object, but because of our true nature, because we have it within ourselves. So when you look at the myth of the ego, it's just an illusion, because when you realize that, then you don't empower that part of you being. You start seeking deeper, longing deeper about who am I? What am I doing here? What's the meaning of my life? And you look deeper. You want to experience and feel that longing inside. And so when I have gone through a kundalini, how many of you, let me ask you that question, and online also, by the way, namaste, welcome. I know you're there, and we're happy to have you. And as a matter of fact, I should have started with that. Normally when I start a satsang, I always love for us to take a few minutes together and to take 3 to 5 deep mindful breaths together mindfully from Muladhara. Follow your breath all the way up to your Vishuddhi, your throat chakra, and put your awareness and feel caressing your spine, and let go with your mind, let go of all the tension in your body. Let's unite as one heart, one soul, one spirit, and one God, and one being. And ground yourself in this beautiful, eternal, infinite present moment. Indulge in the breathing. It's so divine. It anchors you. Only what we have is only now. And 2 more breathing. And one last one. And let go all the tension, everything. Any muscle, check your body inside. How is your breath? Is it shallow or deep or long, elongated? Do you hold any emotion, any tension? Offer it to the Divine Mother. Just completely surrender everything in this moment. And last one. Beautiful. How is your breath? You know, this is something to do regularly during the day to check in. Am I holding tension? What are my emotions? What's happening inside of me? So there's a beautiful story about once upon a time. You offer a little story. It's not a joke, this is a real story. And You're this young man, his name is Prashant. He's like only in his 30s. He goes to this master and he wants to become the master's disciple. I want to learn from you. I want to gain all the CDs. I want to become powerful. I want to be out in the world. I want, you know, CDs from Sanskrit means spiritual power. Are you familiar with that? Like telepathy and transmitting Shaktipat, and there's a lot of, so he was like full of himself, all puff, 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 like a cocorico. You know, when they go in the morning, cocorico, you know, they go crazy, they wake up everybody and all the feathers goes really big. So he was like that. And he was saying, I want to learn from you. Please take me as your disciple. And in that tradition, it's like you have to woo the master, you know. And so he said, you can come back. He said, you can come back tomorrow, we'll see. And keep going on like that for weeks and weeks. You know, I could be your best disciple. I could be even your devotee. I could make you famous and bring you around the world. And I could do this and do that. And then the master says, you go. He just go. He was pushing him away. And kept going on for months, but he was very tenacious because his ego was so puffed up. The sense of false self. I won't use the word ego anymore. And then suddenly, the master saw he was very tenacious, so he saw there was definitely underneath, there was some longing there. And he took on a lot of compassion for this being, and he said, okay, so if you want to be my disciple, he said, I will accept you. But he said, you will have to be at least probably 10 years sweeping the floor and cleaning the kitchen and cooking. Prashant looks and said, what? Do you think I'm going to do this? I came for you so I can learn, I can be your best disciple, and you're going to make me clean the floor and pass the shark and clean the kitchen? I'm not interested. And he said, well, you said you want to be my disciple? He said, it might not be 10 years. Let's see how well you do. And so the cocorico feathers kind of went down a little bit. But the longing was deep and he really wanted. Finally, he accepted to be the disciple. And he was thrown into the kitchen, and the master was purposely teasing him, make him do this, make him do that. Nothing important, nothing big, so he could feel conceited. And because the master saw very clearly, this is a beautiful being, but so full of himself. Too much of false sense of, you see? He needs to be dissolved. And so over the years, he was teasing him, making him do this and do that. And suddenly, through what we call kripta, divine grace, then the disciples started to dissolve. Going through the kitchen, cooking, started chanting, offering it to the divine mother. You may call it Allah, you may call it Brahma, you may call it Shiva, you may call it the absolute truth, doesn't matter what you call it. But that supreme, and he was chanting, and suddenly he got into the groove. Then the little feather was going down even more and more and more. And then he started feeling like a little bit joyful, cleaning the floor, and he started doing it with devotion. And then suddenly it was really beautiful. The guru, the kripta, divine grace, was really working on that disciple. And he started blossoming. And then he was put into sadhana, in spiritual practice, doing kriya and doing meditation and chanting. And suddenly he started going through a kundalini ascension, kundalini awakened, and then he was hit big time, and he started having spontaneous kriya, and boy, he was put in the washing machine, and he got really clean. Well, it took not 10 years, it took probably, see, time is infinite, so it doesn't matter how long. If it happened in this lifetime, it's a phenomenal blessing. But to the surprise of Prashant and the master, they reunited and they sat down and they looked at each other. And then the master realized, wow, look how beautiful. He blossomed. He became a diamond. He dissolved. And so the point of the story, Prashant was radiating light. He was so beautiful. Everywhere he went, people loved him because he was so beautiful. He was Vairagya colorless, meaning he had an internal state of being that was completely one with everything. He was feeling quiet ecstasy inside. He was experiencing his divine presence. It's Satchit Ananda. And the master was just in awe, and he bowed down. He bowed down, and both started crying. And he became the best devotee and the most beautiful one. In every sense, I'm saying that to you, and I get all over. And it was so beautiful how this being finally understood through the silence of his sadhana of cleaning the floor, cleaning the dishes, and cooking, that he started dissolving himself, dissolving what the so-called ego. He started dissolving the karmic structure that was impeding him from experiencing his divine presence. So when you look deep at this, and I'm going to ask you that question for you online, beloved, and for you here, is, are your actions to dissolve you, or are they to create bondage for your karma? Ask yourself that question. And this is what Prashant realized with the master, that throughout the sadhana he gave him, he finally took it humbly, and his conceit and self-importance started to melt down. And then that was the first layer. And then the second layer came, was all his self-ego, so-called ego identification started to fall off. Thinking that he was Hindu, thinking he was from a lineage of whatever, this descent, his ancestor, whatever it was for this being, that thinking that he was a male, thinking, because all those self-identification, we don't realize it, because we're so desensitized to them, they become like, we think this is who we are. Thinking religious background is who we are. Thinking the gender is who we are. Thinking our gender orientation is who we are. All of those things, our family, this is my mother, this is my father. Thinking of all those things, but for this being, finally through his humble sadhana, and through the grace of the Guru, he started to shed all of those, what we call anamkara, those self-identification, which is just a false sense of self, because the true self cannot be spoken. It can only be experienced. And I can tell you, I do experience mine, because when I went through my kundalini ascension, it was unbelievably furious. Let me ask you a question, because before I even go further, how many of you know what is kundalini? Raise your hand. You do? Okay. So most people know. Wonderful. Kundalini is a real thing, I tell you, when you go through. And I know I have some of my follower and disciple who are going through it, and it can be very furious. Just like when the energy moved up and start wiping out all that karma, hundreds of lifetime, and you go into spontaneous kriya is very intense. For this one, I went through that. Went on for 10 years, and I was beating myself up. I would go in convulsion on the floor. I would speak in tongue. My body was rotating, and it was wild and crazy. And that's called the fast forward movement. And I don't encourage that one. Normally, it's throughout my entourage. I don't make it happen this way. But again, we don't have control over that. It's a fast way. It's all depending how deep is your longing, and how deep, depending on your karmic structure also. It depends on so many factors, how receptive you are, how open you are, how vulnerable you are. And all of those things is, how fast do you want to experience your divine presence? How fast do you want to merge and to really know who you are? And I will share with you another little story. And this is a personal story. By the way, the story I was sharing is a story about the master and Prashant. It's a fictitious story. It's a story running wild. But it's beautiful how Prashant became like this phenomenal true devotee. He became one with his master. There is no difference. He became one with what we call God by so many names, and did some phenomenal things on the planet. Beautiful thing. And so that possibility is there for anyone, and I can tell you from my own experience. So for me, I remember, beside the Kundalini Ascension, which was talk about demolition, you know. Everything you know about yourself has been demolished. It changed everything about your life. Everything, everything. And you can even go through a crisis where you have no identification anymore. You don't know who you are. You're lost. And it's a blessing. It's a wonderful blessing. When I was diagnosed with advanced stage 3 cancer, when I was in my 40s, and this is like over a couple of decades ago, and it had metastasized in my body temple, and I was terrified of losing my hair, because I knew I had to go through chemotherapy, and I was so scared. And in those days, I was with my ex-husband, and I knew I could have taken another route, but something inside of me, I knew I had to do this. And I followed the inner guidance. And one night, my ex-husband was traveling. I was alone at night. And I looked at myself in the mirror. I was getting ready for bed, and I was cleaning myself, my face. And I had to make a decision, because it was very advanced. And I knew for many months, because it was growing. It was like a snake. It was growing, going underneath my arm, and it went into my lymph node. And I could not ignore it anymore. I knew I had to face what I had to face. And that night, I was like in such a deep, deep, deep state of complete abandonment. And something hit me. When I saw myself, in those days my hair was really long and beautiful and blonde, and I was really attached. I didn't even realize I was attached to my own sex gender, my femininity. You know, for women, our hair gives us a sense of femininity. Losing your hair was really terrifying. And I look at myself. as I was cleaning, and it just hit me. That was the reason why I was so afraid. Something happened. My kundalini just got, and it just burned, and I was screaming to God. And I said, I don't know the word I said, but protect me, be there for me. Just like I knew it was phenomenal and monumental in my life, what I was going to go through. Because I had that realization that I could die. It was very advanced. And to lose the hair was so scary. And I just felt this fire. The agony just burned all over. And I literally collapsed on the floor, sobbing and screaming. And then I went to bed. And I put the blanket of divine grace upon me. God really heard my scream, I will tell you. When I put that blanket, I was in a state of pure bliss and ecstasy. I was so calm, so peaceful, and I knew my fear of death was burned, what we call ab initio, because that's a deep fear. I knew, whatever you can do with me, I surrender. The ego, whatever you may call it, that sense of self was gone. Everything was gone. If I die, I accept it. If I lose my hair, I accept everything. And I was experiencing my Satchit Ananda, my bliss. The bliss was not mine, the eternal, infinite bliss. I still get tears in my eyes when I tell those stories because it was so profound to experience what I experienced. And this was the beginning of the demolition after I attempted to commit suicide when I was in my early 30s. I've never had much of an ego because when you attempt to commit suicide, you cannot have any sense of self. Because the sense of self is necessary only to keep you in survival mode. And like I said in the beginning of the satsang, so you can function. And so when I went through that in my early 30s, and they found me blue in a coma, and they brought me back to life, I went through a big crisis for a whole year. I did not know who I was at all. I was lost, completely lost. I'll go back to the cancer story because I want to backtrack. This was many decades before. And because the karma was wiped out, so much karma was wiped out, so many karmic impressions were wiped out, and vasana, tendency, were wiped out. And then the beauty of that, what's so liberating, is certainly when you start to rediscover yourself. It's not you anymore. It's the divine. It's the divine presence that you experience. There is no attachment. There is nothing so that is low in frequency. It's like you start experiencing higher vibrancy, a different kind of vibrational feel. It's like you start expanding your consciousness. You start seeing yourself in every being. And yourself is really the divine. You see God or the Divine Mother in every living being. And you treat them as such. And compassion grow inside of you. Ma Karuna grow inside of you. And then you embrace everything as one. You go into the state of Brahma, which is non-dualistic. Because separation does not exist. It's just that sense of self that's constantly wanting to create that separation all the time. And so when I was hit with cancer, many decades later, I was able to surrender to the process and trust, completely trust, because in trust and in devotion, because I always had devotion for the Divine Mother, that's why I'm here tonight, because I'm devotion to you. My work is about love, to be able that I see myself in you, and in you, and in you, and in you, and that I see only divine love. And then I can bring the very best in everything I do, because it's pure, it's unconditional. And so when I was hit with the cancer, my love for the Divine Mother, my devotion, my trust, and my receptivity and my surrender allowed me to go very, very deep. And then so I went for the chemotherapy. I lost my hair. And what I did, as a matter of fact, I had it cut the week before. And then I just had it shaved. I did it as a spiritual ascension. And I did a beautiful ceremony, and I offered it to the Divine Mother. And I was bald. And it was so liberating, because a lot of those false sense of self was gone. We're burned in the fire of Agni. And that sense of thinking that I am my body, I'm female. I'm none of those things. It was the most liberating thing. Kundalini Ascension, the same thing. All the garbage, the layer of who we think we are is constantly being demolished, being purified. And but in order to going so deep into wanting to commit suicide, there was a deep depression. So here are the signs of, what are the signs of, because that's a question is often asked. How do you know that your false sense of self is falling? What the so-called ego we call. Well, one of them is if you go through a depression, and if you're suicidal, this is definitely a sign. Another sign is all the things you used to love, suddenly they don't matter to you anymore. Or some people, they're not in your life anymore. That's another sign. They start falling off. And you're attracting new people, completely different energy. That's another sign. Or you are in sadhana. You are in intense sadhana. And you're going through a spiritual awakening. And Kundalini is being awakened. And you start having spontaneous kriya. And suddenly, you start feeling, oh my God, I used to be this way. I used to be defensive. But I'm not anymore. You see, you notice it's subtle, and sometimes it could be furious. It's like overnight, you're not the same person. Overnight, you're everything about you is been changed, transformed. I would not even call it change. It's been transformed. Another sign is you become vairagya. Vairagya. How many of you are familiar with that word, vairagya? Okay, only one person. Vairagya comes from Sanskrit. It means colorless. Colorless on the sense that something that is colorless it's transparent. You can't see through it. So it means that you have a sense of detachment. You have a sense of, you have no frivolousness. You have no aversion. You are colorless meaning you can take on any personality. You don't have any string to be pulled because there is no personality anymore. Vairagya is a beautiful state to be in. It's like you're equanimous and you calm and you start experiencing the presence inside. You could call it divine presence, or you could just call it your true nature, or you can go even deeper to experiencing that full bliss, which another things we also call in the yogic tradition, which is, we call it the bliss body as well. Bliss body is one of the Manamaya kosha. This one is called Anandamaya kosha. And some say Maharishi and ancient Ascended Master says that the bliss body is the same as Satchitananda. That's a debate, but it doesn't matter. There are many states. But then that's another sign, is that suddenly you are happy, blissful, at ease, and even in ecstasy for no reason. That's another big sign, is that things that used to bother you don't bother you anymore. And so those are real big signs. Another sign I would say is if you go through a life transition, big life transition, like a major illness, can really demolish some of those false sense of self. Because suddenly, let's say going through a divorce can be one. Because when you divorce, you have a certain dynamics, right? With the partner, you acquire a certain personality, you behave in a certain way. There's certain patterns, and this is a part of you. It's not you. And suddenly, when this partner is gone, you start looking back, but I used to behave that way, but it was not me. How come I couldn't see it then? Why did I behave that way? I thought it was me. And so you can go really deep into that. So those are a lot of signs. And so ego death, I would love to change it to just call it dissolution. Dissolving this false sense of self that constantly wants to create this separation with you and the Creator. Like the beautiful story that I was sharing with that beautiful being. His name happened to be Prashant, and this master. And they turned out to be very successful in making very many beautiful things in the world, and many beautiful enlightened beings came about this. And so my cancer journey was, I gave you one little drop of it, but if you're interested in knowing more, I wrote a book called Becoming the Light, Realize Your True Enlightened Nature. The whole story is there. It's very deep and very profound. I almost died of an anaphylactic shock reaction to the chemotherapy. I have shared that story before. I won't go into it now because it's very long, it's very profound, but I can tell you, by the grace of the divine, today I'm a walking miracle. And what occurred then, that was my crucifixion. You know, I went into an anaphylactic shock reaction, and it's a miracle I was brought back to life. That really demolished, you know, when you come close to dying, like I was almost in my last few breaths, to come back and be resuscitated the way I was by the grace of Jesus Christ. I'm not a newborn Christian. I just love Jesus Christ. It's a very beautiful being, happened to come because I called him in those moments when I was dying. And he brought me back to life. The whole story is my book. But the point is, all of this will burn everything about everything you think that you are. It's never-ending layer. So you can go through multiple spiritual events of dissolving that false sense of self. If you ask me how many, I would say it's all relative, based on your karmic structure, based on your openness, like I said, or your receptivity. And if you're doing sadhana, sadhana means spiritual practice, especially kriya. Very important, because if you're in sadhana and you're in intense sadhana, boy, you can grow fast. And if you have that deep, deep longing inside of you, enlightenment can happen in this lifetime, right? Enlightenment is our natural birthright. And most people don't realize that. It is who we are. It's only that false sense of self, what's called ego, that gets into the way. Now, when you don't have a false sense of self, grace happens. The more you put yourself aside, get this being, grace come and flow. And that's how grace flow. I can tell you from my own life. And there's nothing like living life with sweet surrender and devotion. And devotion for the ultimate truth, whatever it is for you. And to offer it. Not to be noticed, to show off. Because remember, the whole point of this is, and this is something for you to reflect on over the coming week, what are your actions? Is this about dissolving yourself? Or is it about creating more karma? Remember, karma will only creating bondage to reincarnate, creating more karma. And so, I think we should, before we take, I want to invite Martine up front. Before we go to a session, I'd like to keep some time for a Q&A question, and we'll do the empowering meditation. I want to introduce the beautiful Martine. She's the owner, I'm sorry. Yes, let's applaud her, the beautiful Martine. She opened up this beautiful place that's called
Home Studio.
Home Yoga Studio in San Anselmo in California. And we're so happy, we're so grateful, and she's so beautiful. Thank you so much. We're so grateful. And I love her studio because it's so homey, and it's all about that sense of belongingness. You know, and that for me, when I went through my journey, is like, I had this big epiphany. I felt like I was so lonely. I had created so much separation in my life because I grew up from this dysfunctional family that was so crazy, even though I love them very much. It was not their fault, it's just karma, it's just what it is. And that I had alienated myself from the whole world. Everybody has their own way to cope, you know, when you're a child. It's natural, it's the defense mechanism. And then when I went through this big depression I realized what was missing in my life was belongingness, to belong. But when you talk about belongingness, it's much deeper. It's not just us being together, it's beautiful on the relative truth, but it's also to belong is to be one. When you agree, is to be feeling each other at the very soul and spirit level, is that there is no boundary. Because those boundaries are self-created. And when you realize that, beloved, is your karma, your life, and your destiny, you created it. Nobody else did it. Who is responsible? It's me. And when you have this realization, it will change your life. When you realize, I always talk about this part of my teaching, the magical wand. Actually, we even make joke about that now. Emoji with the magical wand. The magical wand is invisible. It is your own divine power of co-creating with the ultimate truth, with the Supreme Creator, by your volition, your thoughts, your words, and your action, which create your energy field. So your energy you're emanating everywhere you go is self-created. It's what goes on, the jabbering, the self-talk, how you go about. How do you embrace everyone as yourself? Not just human beings, but the animal. How are you showing up? Are you open? Are you in a state of wonderment like a child and want to discover and see everything new for the first time? So the magical one is that, is to use your own divine power mindfully and consciously. Because as you go and you use your magical wand, which is, I won't go in further now, we will move with questions, but is subject for our next satsang next month here at Home Yoga Studio. And that will be also fascinating. I will go more in depth into that. But for now, let's take some question. I know I have answered Sophie down in Canada. So yes, you can have multiple spiritual events of dissolution. And the ultimate dissolution is Mahasamadhi. Mahasamadhi is when you can consciously leave your body intact and leave it and merge with the ultimate truth. That's called Mahasamadhi in the yogic tradition. And there's definitely no sense of self there when this happens. And normally those are yogi, advanced yogi, you do that. So do we have any question? Let's start here in the studio while Kaya looks online. Anyone has any question regarding the subject tonight or any other subject related? Only question. No question. Maybe it'll come later. What about online?
Not so far.
It takes time sometime to type. Yeah. Oh, Sophie was asking, is Kundalini bring about the death of ego? I think I have answered that. Is yes. But again, we know there's no such a thing as an ego, and there's not such a thing as death. It's just a purification when you go to a Kundalini ascension. And purification we talk about not just of this lifetime, we talk about many lifetimes that we bring into the prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma is an allowed karma that is brought. It's like a software, because karma is just a memory. Any question?
No.
No question?
No.
That's great.
They're all awakened.
Well, some of them were answered also in the satsang.
I have a question.
You do? Only question.
Yeah.
Yeah, speak loud. No.
Trying to figure out how to word it. So you're saying that your karma has an effect on your life and what is happening in your life. Kind of like you create it. You're creating what's happening in your life on a daily basis.
So is your question, are you asking, Lauren?
So like, how can you control that or guide that?
How you control that?
Or guide that so that you're manifesting good things. I guess being mindful, trying to figure out like in which way would you remedy creating anything, bad karma coming, or bad, things that you don't really want to have go that way?
I think I understand your question. I won't go all in depth because we can be here for hours. That's a whole entire satsang, that question. I love it because it's profound. But I'll answer it not all in depth because it will take too long. I could go on talk about an hour about that. Because you're asking a profound question that is fundamentally about how do I take charge of my own destiny? And can I control karma? You cannot control karma. Karma can control you, but you can certainly dissolve yourself and take charge through your own inner power with your magical one. Like I said, that's number one, which we'll talk about next month. And also through sadhana. When you do like the Siddha Satchit Kriyananda, I don't know if you saw the reel from one of my disciples. We just had a program online, a mini spiritual retreat called Radiating the Light. And I imparted the empowerment of the Siddha Satchit Kriyananda. Actually, Joe was there. Yeah, Joe was there on that. And that is a powerful Kriya by the grace of Shiva, the beautiful, great Shiva who brought the science of self-realization to demolish karma. You want to demolish the karma because it doesn't serve you. But just to be a little bit more precise without going into further details for you and for everyone, is how do you move on as you go? Beloved, realize we're constantly creating karma as we go. How we think, how we speak, our action. Of course, you don't want to do a bad action. And I want to demystify just very briefly karma. A lot of people, karma, think that is a system of reward and punishment. You do a bad action, something bad will come to you. That's not karma. And that we'll do a whole satsang on that because that's not how karma. Karma is the law of cause and effect. It's very objective. It's a universal law. Karma is just a memory. And so, wouldn't you want to experience your life blissfully, right? Happy. If you are, you make everybody happy around you, right? So how you think, how you move, how you interact, how you go about, you will do it consciously and mindfully. So you're creating your destiny as you go along. And so this is much deeper than that. But just to answer very briefly to your question, you have the inner power, Lauren, and all of you beloved, to change your destiny right now. How you go about your life, the direction you take in. Are you in sadhana? Very important. Sadhana is very important. Working with the life force energy. Are you conscious? Are you practice mindfulness? What's happening inside of you? Are you using your magical wand? It's many, many things. Like I said, it's a whole satsang because that question you asked, Lauren, it opened up a whole... yeah, you could say that way. Yeah. Yes, there is a question. Sometimes it takes... But did I answer to you?
Yeah. As I was asking it, I was imagining, being mindful and...
It's more than that.
Forethought in your actions and your...
It's that, but it's a lot more than that. And there's certain karma you cannot change. Because it's too late. There are certain things that That's why I said when you surrender and you're in a state of abandonment, but you know your conscious being and you're working towards your conscious evolution, and you're doing everything in your power, then the ride will be easier. Yeah. But I think I'm looking at the calendar now, maybe in December we'll do an entire Drinking Bliss Divine Satsang on karma. What about that?
Yeah.
Would you love that? Yeah? Raise your hand. Great, wonderful. And for you online, if you would love that, write it in the comment section. Say yes with a big heart. Because we have, if you go on the website under devigrace.org, you go under wisdom, and then you'll see Divine Satsang. The whole schedule is there. And you can see the date and you can see the theme there. And I know in December, I don't think we have decided yet, so we'll do it on karma. So what is the question?
It's from Adam. Is there an ego identification at the level of the subtle body and the etheric body that needs to be transcended?
Repeat that again. Is there ego identification?
Is there ego identification at the level of the subtle body and the etheric body?
I don't understand the last word. I heard the subtle body. What is it?
Etheric is like the etheric. E-T-H.
Oh, an etheric.
Yeah, etheric body that needs to be transcended.
Oh, I love that question, Adam. Adam Buddha, namaste. So wonderful. Well, there isn't per se as ego. Remember, we say ego does not exist. But what there is, it's not even an identification. I love it because it brings up another subject that is metaphysical, is of otherworldly. And it's about the subtle body, the etheric body, and the causal body. But to answer your question is yes, there is a veil. We call it the veil in the yogic tradition. And that veil is what encapsulates that entity. So when the merging happens, that bubble explodes. It merged with pure consciousness, with Shiva, what we call Shiva, that is not. I don't mean the yogi, the first yogi who came, Shiva. I'm talking that what we call in the yogic tradition, Shiva, that is not. That's pure consciousness. That then when that veil is broken, that veil, thank you, this is my French accent, that veil, V-E-I-L, then you're one with everything. And so as we reincarnate, that veil has to be there. That's what keeps you in bondage. And when you come out of the cycle of samsara, of suffering, reincarnation, constantly in the physical realm, then that veil does not exist anymore. This is that beautiful, unique wave has come back to the infinite ocean of divine love. So that's the answer. So it's not an identification, because when you ask that question, Adam, it comes from the mind. This is beyond, it's of the beyond. It pertains to the metaphysical aspect of our being, of the subtle body and the causal body. You could say of the soul, of the spirit. And it's necessary. That's what's creating the veil. As a matter of fact, I have seen spirit when I was in Varanasi. How many of you know of Varanasi in India? Have you been there? How many of you have been to Varanasi? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 people. Varanasi is called Kashi. It's in India. If you haven't gone there, you've got to go there. It's amazing. It's where they burn the dead body. You know, it's in Hinduism, in the yogic tradition also, is like the body is just a garment, and they burn it by the Ganga river, and then you can see. I've seen them. You see the bubble. You see them coming up. There's like, we even capture it on photo. I have photo will blow your mind. They're different, like all bubble, different size, different color, different light. I'm able to see them. I'm saying that very humbly. And so, yes, that veil is there, but it has nothing to do with the sense of self. And that's very important. It has nothing to do with the false sense of self. It has nothing to do with the so-called, what you call ego, and it has nothing to do with the mind. It is just part of how our Creator manifested us. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, I'm constantly in state of wonderment and awe when I think of this. It's phenomenal. And so, when you go through a kundalini ascension, don't think it happened only when you die and when you merge and you go into samadhi. When you go through kundalini ascension and you realize enlightenment at fully, then that veil is very thin. It's almost non-existent. And I would even say the very advanced yogi, it's not even there anymore. It's completely merged with everything. It's pure consciousness. And and then we'll do the process. It'll be a beautiful process. So you can all lay down and just die.
Yosef.
Yeah.
From Yosef. I have a question.
From who?
Yosef. Y-O-S-E.
Yosef, okay. Namaste, beloved. It's Morad.
Laura.
He wasn't radiating the light last couple of weeks ago.
I have a question.
From Egypt.
There is a sensation that always comes up for me, which is translated in my mind as death for some reason. So
It's always translated in my mind as what?
There's a sensation that comes up for him that he translates as death.
As death, yeah.
So wait, it's very much related to his identity in his body. And when this sensation comes, he notices that there's very deep judgment, wanting to turn away, the desire to push it down, something along that line. What can I do when the sensation of this death, where he wants to push it away, what can I do when it comes up again?
Hi, beloved. You just laugh at it. You just laugh at it and you just witness it. Just witness it and don't judge it. Because the problem I see with most of you is that you're very judgmental, and it's human nature. You judge yourself, you're hard on yourself. Don't. Learn how to be a yogi. Laugh at yourself, pick yourself up, and just observe it. Just become a witness. Remember, we talked about that. Magical one, Murad, mindfulness, consciousness. Just look at it and observe it and breathe through it consciously. And don't allow your mind to go there. Because you know what happens when you judge? The mind kick in. The false sense of self kick in. And the jabbering kick in. And the self-talk. And then suddenly, ooh, it's very negative. And if you put resistance, what do you think will happen if you put resistance? It will persist. Excuse me. So that's why, don't try to resist. What you're doing, pushing away, is resisting. Go away. You're resisting. Don't do that. It's just like, I'm here now. Breathe, I'm home. Breathe mindfully, consciously. It's like a cloud. It's like an emotion. Have you noticed emotion? They're just clouds. You let them go, they come and they go. They're transient. So that feeling is just a transient. And I guarantee you, because you're doing super great in your sadhana with your Siddha Satchit Kriyananda, in a couple of months, then this will be gone. It will be completely demolished. So it's just a samskar. And samskar and impression. So any more questions? So a lot of people are really longing to die tonight. Yes, we got a question. Yes, beloved.
How do you contend with, when, you spoke about how we can change our karma in every moment, but I find myself stuck on disappointment or expectations of what's happened to me in the past, and it makes it very difficult to change my karma. So I'd like your advice on how to handle disappointment and to still find a way to imagine, or I guess, like, yeah, to create a new way of seeing things, a new belief, a new purpose, a new conviction.
What you're saying is really profound in many ways, I will say. Your question, if you haven't heard online, it's the question: she has had a lot of expectation, and her expectations are not met. Is that correct? And how can she change that karma? Because you must have been wounded. And when you're wounded, especially in the heart, oh my God, you're creating a lot of impression, karmic impression. And then each time someone disappoints you and they let you down, then it hurts you even more. It's because you're not in sadhana. If you were doing sadhana, you would really make a distance from your karma and from your mind. And I would say, manage your expectation, because expectation reduces your joy. I know we have a tendency, human, to have expectation from people, but the truth is, let's not have expectation, because that's exactly why you keep repeating that cycle. What's great right now is you're aware of it. And awareness is everything. It's probably 98% of the work. As soon as you become aware, it's phenomenal. Because now you can take charge. Okay, I know I have that samskar. That samskar is a karmic impression. It's a memory. I have been hurt. People disappoint me. And I'm afraid to be hurt again. And so I would say to you, don't have expectation from people. You got to be mindful and conscious that you're holding expectation. Don't have expectation from people. And it's very subtle. If you look really, it's very subtle, because it's so deep inside the way we brought up that we expect from people to behave in a certain way, especially in close relationship, with family, with boyfriend, girlfriend, friends, husband, wife, and they don't behave the way you want them to behave. The only one person you can be in charge of is you. You cannot be in charge of anybody else. And how you manage your own energy field is extremely important. So you can tackle that with many, many things. Number one, become conscious. Hey, my expectation are a little bit too big. Maybe they are a little bit too big. Or maybe it's true. They really are disappointing you and they're hurting you. It could be a combination of both. But when you start cutting those strings from people, you will see that they don't have the same power over you, because you become more mindful, you become more conscious. The way you think about them, your behavior towards them is different. And like I said, if you work towards your own awakening, your own enlightenment, all of this thing will start going away, especially that samskara of being hurt. Yeah, doing sadhana. And watch yourself talk with people, you know, when you interact with them. What do you think? What's going on inside? Do you expect? What is it that you expect from them? It's best not to expect anything. Does that help you?
It's an interesting perspective. I don't think it's one that helps me though.
You don't think that helps you?
Well, my struggle is that I'm a human and I'm a deeply feeling human being, and I mean, if I were on this earth to not expect and not react and not feel, then why would I be here? That's my issue with the perspective that it's not particularly helpful.
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry. What was that?
I'm saying it's helpful if I were to follow the path of surrendering my human experience, emotions, the need for closeness, survival. I mean, I guess you answered it a lot in terms of relationship. And well, what is the point of me having a human experience if it's not to connect and have relationship?
Oh no, you're still connecting.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you have. That's the beauty of being a human, and you don't need to be on the path of surrender. You don't need to be on any path. But you're asking me the question, what would be the best way to get rid of the samskar? I'm just saying to you, actually, my path is not even a path of surrender. Surrender is just a tool. It's one more yogic tool, that's all. I'm just saying to you that I think to become more mindful and conscious, if let's say you're not in sadhana, you don't want to be in sadhana, it's completely all right. But if you're disappointed because you have expectation, you have been hurt, and it's ingrained into your karmic structure, it'll be very hard to get rid of it without sadhana, spiritual practices. That's why this is a suggestion as one of the solutions. But on a more superficial level is the reason why we get so let down with expectation and we allowed it to hurt ourselves is us. We allowed. The biggest hurt and pain comes from us because we allowed ourselves to go there. So what I was saying to you is maybe when you go into, yeah, absolutely, the more everything life is all about bonding, belonging, connecting, but it's for you to be responsible, because the first step on the spiritual path is, we have said that, who is responsible is me. Who is hurting is me. Certain event can definitely hurt us, but a big part of it is we create that hurt inside of us. So all I'm suggesting to you, to help you, is look deep at your relationship and see what are your expectations towards those people. That's what I'm saying. And see what you hold in terms of expectation. Because you're creating that inside of you. And then if they don't meet your expectation, then it hurts you. You see what I'm saying? And so on that level, this is a very practical, just very simple approach that you can start. And then eventually, if you want to go deeper into yourself, then there's a lot more great tool that can be done. It's all depending, how much you want to go deep into discovering your own inner treasure. But expectation is always us. We put that upon people. And actually, it's unfair. Because sometimes we put unbelievable expectation on people. And then we get disappointed. And then we get hurt. And then we blame them. Huh? Look at your relationship. Is that the case?
It's kind of like we're arguing with reality. You know, when I'm having expectations of whatever it is, myself or someone else, it's like instead of being present with what's showing up, I want something else. Or I don't want something else. It's like this argument.
But what you're saying, Kaya, is all karma. The same, I'm so sorry, I forgot your name. Angelica. Angelica is saying also, it's her karma. She created that. It's in her karmic structure. So that's why I was saying, if you're really serious about getting rid of this, is to make that distance. I don't want that part of me. I don't want that karmic structure, that memory. Because remember, karma is just a memory. I don't want that about me. Because I'm too vulnerable. This kind of samskar makes me too vulnerable. I don't want to be that way. You can be in a healthy way in relationship, love fully and connect fully and give yourself without hurting yourself. And still have no expectation. And you know what the beauty about that, Angelica, I will tell you, is when they show up in a way you don't expect it, they blow your mind. Would you agree? You said, oh my God, you would have never thought something like that could happen. And it's the gift. So we're in charge of our own experience as we go. And those are great questions you ask, Angelica and Lauren and Adam and Maud, because it allows you to look deep inside and how you interact with your world and how you are responding to it. Look at the responding, because the responding will tell you a lot about your karma. It will tell you about your samskar. It will tell you about your vasana. You have the vasana of getting hurt. I can tell you based on what you said. And you're probably afraid. You're already afraid, God, is he going to disappoint me? You see? Does that clarify it more?
Yes, I understand your perspective, definitely.
And then on your side, you could show up in a different way. Instead of being hurting yourself and going into the falling of negative, low vibration energy, you could pick up yourself, and this has nothing to do with me. It's this person's karma. I'm not going to feel hurt. I love this person. I am going to show up. I am going to super exceed his or her expectation. And I'm not going to go into that space of being hurt, because that space of being hurt, I'm not saying this is the case here, but sometimes it's a victim. You're victimizing yourself. It comes from dysfunctional family. You have been wounded many times. And it hurts when you are interacting with people that reenact some family dynamics. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's the case now, I'm just saying often that's what I have seen. That. And so instead, you could stop. It's very, very practical what I'm saying to you. And it works because I've done it myself over 40 years ago. And I have a lot of followers, they're doing this. You stop. Breathe mindfully like we did today, consciously. You don't even have to say it. And you take a couple of deep breaths. Instead of being reactive and compulsive and go into that space, oh, I'm hurt. Even though you're hurt, just breathe through it. Allow it to be mindful and witness it and let it pass. And then you can say to yourself, I am a divine being of light. I surrender to my Creator all that I feel right now in this moment. That's not difficult to do. That's very practical. Instead of whatever reaction that would have been, which could be throwing gasoline into the fire and make it even worse. Again, I'm not saying it's the case. I'm just giving you a universal example because the tendency of people is doing that. They will act on their compulsion, and their compulsion is their karmic structure, is exactly. The karmic structure in this case is the hurt. And that hurt could come very much when you were a child. Maybe consciously you haven't seen that yet. It comes from your family of origin that there is so much hurt because your parents should let you down, your big sister let you down, your grandmother let you down, you know? And it's so deep, it's so unconscious that it's reenacted into your relationship. Again, I'm not saying this is the case, but often that's what I have seen with so many followers. So I think we're ready. Let's do the process. Let's die tonight. Make yourself comfortable. Let go of everything tonight. And all the hurt, allow yourself to dissolve. Go into Shavasana. You have plenty of space. Yeah, if you want more pillow, there's more pillow. And we're going to need the music. If the music is too loud, please let us know. And for you online, beloved, if you have more questions, we're running out of time. I want to make sure we have enough time for this beautiful, empowering ego, so-called ego death, and its dissolution. And it's 432 hertz frequency. And so it's going to be really beautiful and empowering. And if you have earplugs for you around the world, put your earplugs, go in Shavasana, turn your hair up. And by the way, if you enjoyed this video satsang, this live satsang, please click the like button. Don't forget, share with your friends and your family. And if you're new to Devi Mayi Ma channel, subscribe, join our loving, beloved community. Every Sunday, second Sunday of the month, we come live in Drinking Bliss Divine Satsang at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And we always have a very powerful spiritual process, meditation. I would say put it louder. A little louder.
We not have your strong bass, Prashant?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, everyone, take a very deep, deep breath and tie everything. Make a fist with your hands and tie all your body. Your torso, your legs, your neck, your shoulder. Tie. And completely let go. Put it a little louder. And a second deep breath. Tie. Ooh, like your life is, ooh, tight. And you let go every muscle with the power of your mind. You let go of every muscle. And take a Third one, make a feast with your hands. Make a feast with your hands, and your legs tight, 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 your torso, everything. Let go of everything. Okay, if you don't hear my voice well or the music is too loud, you let us know. This is your last day today on this planet. You know it's your last day. You're waking up and you realize that body is just a garment that needs to return to Mother Earth. It's Kala. Time has come to say goodbye to everyone. Everything you know of you as you are going to let go of your body. This garment that is worn out, that you thought it was you. You're going to say goodbye. What would you do today? This is your last day on Mother Earth. Think of all the people that played their character. The one you thought was your beloved, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your family. Your friends, your sister, your brother. What would you do? Today is your last day. What is it that you haven't told them? Who are they? Have you identified them only by just a name? Look at their soul and their spirit. Grandfather, grandmother, children. Look at your children. Say goodbye. Say goodbye to your beloved. Would you go at the ocean alone? Walk with them and look at them in their eyes. This is your last day, beloved. It's time to do what you need to do. What would you tell them? Would you forgive them? Would you hug them and say, I'm really sorry. I love you the best I could. I gave everything I could. I'm going home. You tell them, I'm going home. Would you sit with them and look at them straight in their eyes? If that's so, do it now. You don't have much time, an hour left only. Make sure you include everyone, even the one that are maybe your enemy. Would you forgive them? Feel it in your heart and soul and spirit. I'm going home. My Creator is calling me. I'm going home. I want to tell you how much I love you. I'm shedding my body now, and you are right now in Varanasi, in India, in Kashmir. And now this is where most people, yogi, they go and die. I'm going to take my last breath, and I'm going to take it in Kashmir. And you let go of all your attachment. You animal companion, say goodbye. I'm dying. And yet there is no birth and no death. And they tied you up now, and they're going to set the fire. You're taking your last breath. Everything of you who thought you were Kaya, Angelica, Prashant, Lauren, Martine, Morad, Adam, whatever name, it's not you. You're going back to the Creator now. You're taking your last breath. And they set the fire. See yourself starting to burn. Your feet. It's dark at night, it's full moon. See the moon reflecting. And as you're burning, you see above that garment, that old garment burning. You're coming out. The toes. Allow the toes, the feet. See the fire. The ankle. The knees. The fire is burning and ravaging your torso, your breasts, your organs, your hands. Feel it going up. Your neck, your shoulder. Your head, your nose, your mouth, your jaw. Everything is burning in the fire of Agni, being purified. Your hair. All the bones are burning. Smell the ashes. You're hovering right above the ashes. And now you're free. And you look below. And you have a sense of freedom. That cage that you had created is burned. And now your spirit is just flying, hovering over Kashmir, feeling the sense of freedom, that liberating freedom. And you start flying all through, away from Mother Earth. A light is calling you. Keep flying through the universe, beloved. See the creation, that you're part and you are the divine. You've seen nebulas, stars, new solar system. You're flying faster and faster. Our son, the Divine Mother is calling you home. See the light far, far, a bright effulgent light, like billions of sun. It's calling you home. See, feel the exhilarating feeling, traversing, coming closer to the light, and closer and closer. And you start penetrating into the light. And it's effulgent light. And in that light, feel the vast ocean of divine love. Put your awareness on your Anahata, on your heart chakra. Feel buzzing with ecstasy, so much love. And then you see in a silhouette some kind of entity, the Supreme Being, is calling you, beloved, and go right into the heart center. He's calling you into his shrine. See a deity there, anything you want. And then you go, penetrate and go, become one with it. And sit into that lotus, that 1,000 effulgent light lotus, and then you go sit there, your soul and your spirit. And just rest, repose there, and experience. Suddenly, you see all the Ascended Master there, all the one that you love. all the entity are there, all you beloved. Ascended Master, it could be Jesus Christ, Tara, any deity, Lakshmi, Shiva. Baby. Beloved. It can be a departed ascended master, that a beloved that you love so dearly. They're all there now. Feel their presence. Could be Gautama Buddha, Kuan Yin. And then you're melting into the light. It can be Durga, Saraswati, Jangadamba. And you're just floating. You're just floating and floating as you have merged with the vast ocean of divine love. Take your own time. And whenever you're ready, you can turn on your right side. You bend your knee and you turn your right on the right. Do it slowly, slowly. You don't have to get up right away. It can take a couple of minutes. Take your time. Just when you get up, Always get up turn on the right and put your hands, you bend your knee and put your hands and get up very slowly because of your heart, to protect your heart. Take your time. And then when you get up, just sit down cross-legged and close your eyes. And then chant Shi as you inhale, Va as you exhale. And we're going to meditate. Shi is inhale. Feel, caress your spine with your conscious breathing. Leave it on, leave it on. And exhale, Va. Chant it mentally. And then when you don't need it, you let go of it. It's just a safety buoy to anchor you into this meditative state. And then when thoughts comes, ignore them. Just witness them like clouds. Then bring back your Bijan mantra. Shi, Va. And so let's meditate like that for 5-10 minutes. But mindfully put your awareness on your spine going up and down as you breathe. Inhale, Shi. Mentally say, chant Shi, Va. Va is as you exhale. You may open your eyes. Slowly, when you finish, we would meditate longer, but we're out of time. Next time, we'll leave more time for meditation. When you come out of meditation, you can rub your hands like that. Put it right on your eyes. Namaste, and I send you a wave of divine love and light and blessing and grace to all of you here and online around the world. And next month, Drinking Bliss, we will have on the magical one. Like I said, you can go on the website, and the whole schedule is there with the team. And if for some reason, I suggest you go tonight more quietly. You don't have to maintain silence, but if you can, it would be a good idea, and not looking at your phone, and because things are going to cook inside of you. So tomorrow, see how you feel. If you feel like crying or anything, whatever comes, let it happen. Don't judge it.